the midlife crisis. This is something that we have been dreading perhaps our entire lives, especially when we are young and we find ourselves here. If this is you, you have nothing to worry about, because I'm going to get into the nuts and bolts of what makes this midlife crisis your greatest opportunity and the best opportunity for you to live the life that you want. I'm going to get into that coming up on the Spencer Mark podcast. So you're told half your life is over. You haven't achieved maybe that dream that you had for yourself when you're 18 years old. It's okay. I'm going to here to put those fears to rest, because I'm going to get into the nuts and bolts here of what's going to make, going to brighten your day when you can understand fully is that this is a moment where we see the end in sight, the inevitable end of us, and we want to go ahead and just roll forward and just going to kind of blast forward into this second half of our life with greater precision, with greater beauty, with greater everything, right? So we're going to give you a little map. I'm going to give you all these reasons here why this midlife could be the greatest opportunity for you moving forward. And this is really backed by science. This is backed also by my own personal experience as well. I list all the references in the description. So getting right into it, why this is midlife is the greatest opportunity that you have here too. So once we've always wanted to been chasing this ideal, perhaps I know this was me, and we were always starting out wanting to accumulate things, chasing the career and the success. And this really comes down overall to this overall feeling of happiness. I mean, that's essentially where we want to end up, right? We want these things, we want these accolades, we want this success so we can end up feeling happy and content. And so perhaps you have gotten the success and you're at that finish line, and perhaps it's not really fulfilling you. You're feeling even emptier. And the issue is, and the really interesting paradox of this all is that if we've been one-track minded to find happiness or whatever that thing is, it actually can lead, and the studies have shown that this can lead to greater sense of feeling of dissatisfaction, even depression. Because the biggest thing is that we've been so focused on achieving something that's so grand that we ignore the other parts of our life. So this is a trap, essentially. So it's important that you know this right off the bat, is like if we go directly at happiness and, in that success, whatever that is, we're going to ignore these other areas of life. So this is kind of this fallacy, is this arrival fallacy is the number one trap. I'll be happy when. And I've worked with so many men that are like, I'll be happy when I lose that 20 pounds. How long is that happiness going to last? And then what if you lose that 20 pounds and then one day you've gained 2 more pounds and your happiness it can go away, right? The issue is that you're not happy now. Practicing being happy now is an absolute choice, the choice of a happy life. So once you get there, if you're not practicing feeling happy right now, the chances are when you get there to that arrival, you're still in that behavior of not feeling happy. So there comes this pursuit paradox as well. So when we overvalue something like happiness, it can really backfire if we just stay one-minded on this thing. And if we continually move through it for happiness without thinking of anything else, studies have proven and shown that this can lead to increasing disappointment, lower mood, even higher depression. So the biggest thing is when we go forward into the pursuit is we start to pursue not just parts, because that's the whole thing that we're kind of missing here. We stay one-minded and one-focused, and we overwork, and it crowds out all these other things when we stay single-focused. Like, have you known anyone out there, perhaps, when you start thinking about your career and wanting a successful career, that means that comes at like the value of at the cost of your health, getting good sleep, perhaps joy, other relationships, because you're working. And this workaholism may be leading to more strain in other areas of your life. So at this point here in midlife, we begin to realize that we are not just parts, but we're part of we're part of this whole. We got to take care of the whole being in order to we hit these parts of the whole being in order to realize something like happiness. So it's a way of attaining the goal without going directly at it. So we need to take an indirect approach. And Dr. Tal Ben Shahar, he's teaching this happiness certification course with the Happiness Studies Academy. I'm currently enrolled. And he teaches this framework called SPIRE. This is an indirect framework that will help people realize happiness has been proven. So think of that acronym SPIRE, which is spiritual well-being, physical well-being, intellectual well-being, relational, and emotional well-being. And by going through these different frameworks I'll take you through here now, it's going to increase your chances of realizing something like happiness. So we're going to hit all of those moving forward here into number one. Here's the big opportunity for you, and I work with people on this all the time, is slowing down to be able to see truth. Truth is so important. We get tired of, have you ever been like accused of like or have got yourself in a situation where you basically say, yeah, sure, I'll go ahead and help you move. I would love to help, but you really don't. And the time comes where you have to do it and you're like, oh, I don't want to do this. You stick to your guns and tell them the truth. The truth is, hey, I'd love to help you out, but I really have something else going on that day. Anything else? However you want to say it, but you got to stick to your truth. But slowing down is a big piece in this. So Carl Jung had a quote, which is kind of paraphrasing here. What is true in one season of your life can become a lie in the next. So if you think of your entire life on a full timeline as one season, right? Here at midlife, we find ourselves in the fall. Now, what was true perhaps when we think of something like our health, in what was true in the spring of it, like perhaps our 20s, that playbook is completely different. So if you were like me and took your 30s off and decided to get back on it in your 40s when it comes to your physical health, what perhaps worked for you in your 20s, you're going to run into some issues. So number one, you probably had more time. You had fewer duties. You probably weren't a dad at that point. You had better recovery physically. You had different hormones, of course, that were going on back then. So if we continue to use that playbook in our 40s and 50s, okay, this is going to be you're going to run into issues. Okay, think about it. If we are lifting too hard or too heavy, doing heavy deadlifts, heavy squats, it could lead to injury if we're not really warmed up to that. And that injury leads to lost time to nurse those injuries. And that can be frustrating, right? And that can build an inner tension that you're not achieving the goals you want to achieve and you're getting in worse shape and you get poor sleep because you're stressed. And that poor sleep leads to bad blood sugar and leads to insulin resistance, which leads to more weight gain. And then you begin to numb yourself with donuts or fast food or whatever that might be, which leads to shame. Are you seeing this kind of play out? Have you been guilty of that before? Have you had any relation to that type of cycle before? I know I have. No shame here in that. But the thing is here too, a lot of this stuff could be alleviated if we brought truth to the entire situations that I'm here and now. I need to have a slow ramp up. Something needs to change. And remember, I wrote here too, this is cathedral work. There's a story about a man walking by these two gentlemen working on a construction site. And he asked one guy what he's doing, as he's putting these bricks together. He said, I'm just here for this job. I'm laying these bricks. I'm putting the mortar on and just putting these bricks up here on this wall. I'm just a bricklayer. And then he sees another guy with a big, is whistling. He's got a smile on his face doing the same work that he saw. And he asked him, he's like, well, tell me about your day. Like, what is it that you're building here? And he's like, well, I'm building a cathedral. So it's a very interesting, way of looking at your opportunity for perspective here. Understand that when you slow down and you take this to heart, what you're doing here, slowing down, you are really building your cathedral here. Take your time. There's no race. Okay. There's no race to get anywhere. You're building your cathedral. So when we look at slowing down, the advantages of this, when we look to that SPIRE framework, spiritually, meaning, it's your meaning here. Spiritually, it's what's the honest, bigger than me good here in slowing down and being truthful with where I am in whatever aspect. So overall, what's the greater meaning for you to being honest with yourself, and how can you grow into that good? What's bigger than me here? Physically, what does this body, the body that you're in, recover from well? Think of the different types of exercises that you can be doing, even just walking. Can you recover from that well? When you look at this intellectually, your intellectual well-being, which belief was true back in the day but ends up being false now? And that brings greater awareness to your situation, which leads to greater satisfaction where you're at. Relationally, who in your life is supporting this update in your life? Is it your spouse? Is it your friends? Find that support where you're at. And if you don't have support, if you're in, you might be in the wrong friend circle here too. So it's okay to update your support, your relational support. And then emotionally, what emotion appears for you when you release that old script? Is it relief? Is it a little bit of anxiety? Get curious about that. So when you can attend to each one of those sections, you're going to feel more contentment. So the second thing, decluttering, letting go of your shit. Okay. The first half of our life, we are really accumulating. I talked about this a little bit earlier. When you just, you graduate, you want to get that, high school, you get the diploma, then you want to go for the degree. You want to go for the house, so you had to go for the career. You get the promotion, and then you get the cars, and you get the wife, or your mate. Perhaps you get a boat, 401k. You get the vacations. So it's all this about this accumulating stuff. But the thing is that over time, you may have felt that everything we accumulate takes time. Time for maintenance. Think about a boat, the amount of maintenance it takes just to keep a boat. What about the mental bandwidth that takes up of having all of these things that we're owning? Okay, that plays a definite factor. Have you ever found yourself spring cleaning and the feelings you get when you make a run to Goodwill and drop stuff off? Probably feels pretty good. Letting go. There's this part of letting go. Like even with your children, they go off to college at this stage, right? You empty their stuff. Their room gets changed. It's an extra room, becomes perhaps an Airbnb for you. Okay. So it's an opportunity to feel lighter and to get more time when you empty the garage and the other burdens. And what rhymes with burden is Durden. And if you remember Tyler Durden from the famed movie Fight Club, when he famously said, the things you own end up owning you. So having that awareness to let go and not be attached to things and even ideologies or myths, how you feel about a certain someone, that all weighs heavily on your well-being, your peace of mind, your energy, your time. So if we could learn to drop that weight, and you're here at this age, and it's meant to be dropped, you're going to be able to go farther with less. Further, farther. Tomato, tomato. So going a little bit deeper into the peer-reviewed studies here on this too, it's like if you were to describe your home as cluttered or unfinished, it really is linked to a worse mood, more stress, unable to really pull out of chronic cortisol dump. So another thing here too is the stronger materialistic values that we have equals a more tendency to having a lower well-being across multiple measures. And overall well-being, again, spiritually, intellectually, physically, relationally, emotionally. Okay, maybe not in every case, but there is a direct correlation to that in a wide degree. And then there is this thing called the U-shape curve of happiness. So if you can imagine a graph where you measure that, on the x-axis, you have a range of happiness. It's very high, and when we start out, and you have your age here at the bottom. So happiness is very high when we're first starting out in life, and we start accumulating things, and those things that weigh heavy on us. And as we go and we progress in age, you're going to find that we begin to bottom out on our happiness at that stage where we notice a crisis. Okay, it's typically around 45 to 48 years old, to where our satisfaction, our life satisfaction, has been proven to be at our lowest. But good news is that it starts to curve up at about that age, 48, 49, 50, and then it continues to rise up through the 50s and 60s and 70s. And the big part of that is understanding that you can let go of things, letting go of the shit in your life, and not just the material things. Again, this could be the emotional things. This could be, the different spiritual dogmas. I don't know, whatever those things are that you really hold on to. Letting go of this is going to lighten you. So that's been proven. So really simple, too much stuff equals more stress. So most people, again, feel lowest in their late 40s, but then when 50 starts coming on, you're going to start feeling better again. Trust me on that. Now I'm studying this stuff. If the curve bottoms in the late 40s, this is the moment to kind of remember to practice shedding a little bit of stuff, the different roles you might be carrying. If you find yourself in the PTA and you want to drop that, if you're in the homeowners association, if you're not liking it, drop it. When you let go of those things, you let go of those expectations as well. And then with less weight, you can climb higher. And let's look through this through the SPIRE lens. So spiritually, things do not mean, I swear I took English. Things do not mean that you have any more meaning. Okay, very clear on that. Physically, when you have fewer objects, you have fewer energy leaks. Intellectually, what we're understanding here is that if you can unsubscribe to different apps, if you're deleting things inside of your life, you can simplify those inputs. It's going to lead to greater intellectual well-being, more bandwidth for your mind to think of things or to not think of them. Relationally, you have less stuff, you have more presence with people. You don't have a thing. Oh, it's like, and I had to cut this conversation short. I got to go pick up so-and-so, right? So you can have more presence. And then emotionally, feel that lift when you donate something, when you empty out, when you take the things from the bags of clothes from your car and you give them to the Goodwill. Feel how and notice that feeling. What do you feel in your body, in your mind? So something to do, again, a 15-minute donation run. You can sell some things on eBay or on Facebook Marketplace, let's say. You can do a trash sprint. That means you can go out there with a trash bag and go out walking and pick up stuff and throw it away if you want to do that. Cancel 3 different subscriptions if you want to do that too. I'm curious to know what you would want to do to let go of more stuff. And then the whole thing is to feel less stress, less tension. Float along, baby. The third thing is you have this opportunity for reinvention. Being selfish, to live selflessly. Men out there, let me tell you, we have a hard time with that word selfish. Well, if I take care of myself, isn't that being selfish? And I'm taught that being selfish is a bad thing, right? Well, we need to just look at this physically. And I often say this is that, is the heart selfish? Well, the heart has to pump blood to itself first, so then it can feed the rest of the body. You're the man. You need to be able to guard your peace. And when you can guard your peace, then you're a peaceful man in your relationships, your relationship with your kids, with your spouse, and with your community. So, yeah, maybe it might be selfish, but it's not a bad thing. Okay. And when you can take care of yourself is when you give to yourself, you're only able at that point to then give to others. Okay. So I'm here to tell you that it's okay to be selfish for yourself. So this is going to give you time for even self-study. Take on a new craft, like learning to play the piano. Welding, if you want to take up your welding class. Or this is a big one here too. Become a baker. The pandemic brought out a lot of inner bakers of we guys out there in the world, right? Have you been guilty of creating a nice artisanal loaf? bread. Yeah, bake some bread. Do something like learn to create something. So being selfish to reconnect to your true desires. Okay. And then when you get that overflow, when you keep giving yourself that overflow, direct that overflow to others inside of your life. Continually fill your own cup so much to where it overflows, and then you guide the overflow to other people and just keep giving. It needs to start with yourself first, though. Give to yourself so you don't feel empty. And we fathers have often felt that way, to where you're giving of yourself and you're giving of your time and you're trying to be perfect, and there's never an influx. And that's when we can get resentment. Perhaps our partner isn't giving us what we need, right? That's not really fair to them. It's not fair to kids. And I've done all that before too. I've been guilty of that. What I didn't realize is that I need to continually feed myself first, not to bullshit me with anything that I think I might need, but to really give myself loving kindness and give myself what I need. And from that, I feel that I have my own back. And then the overflow, I could then help my family out. So be selfish. Self-compassion, again, self-care. It links to more empathy, perspective taking. It's going to buffer burnout for you at your work, with your family. It's going to let go. You're going to taking care of yourself. Give yourself compassion. It's not a bad thing. Care for yourself first, and you care for others better. Quite simple. Then looking at this through the SPIRE framework, choose a craft that reconnects you to a sense of awe and wonderment. Learn something. Reinvent. You have this opportunity. Physically, protect 10 minutes daily to your walking, to your lifting, to your stretching. Intellectually, start with a beginner's mind. Okay, learn, iterate what you learn. Teach others. That's the best way to learn. Relationally, share your output. Gift what you bring to the world. Is that bread? Show your work to people. What perhaps you might be writing, perhaps you're drawing. Show your work. Emotionally, feel how this is really affecting your state of calm, in your feelings of joy. When you're living selfishly and selflessly. So a quick little exercise is try a 30-day sprint, which is just 10 minutes a day, and tell one person what you're doing and why you're doing it. And you're taking care of yourself. Number 4, freedom from what other people think. Oh, this is a big one. This lets go of a lot. And this is always on display. Whatever gym I end up going to lately, it's the Y. There's a lot of old guys in there that do not care what people think. They will air dry without a towel on. They don't care if anyone sees their pee-pee anymore, right? They don't care. And how wonderful. I mean, did you remember when you were a kid and that was the craziest thing that you could ever think of, is I want to take a shower in front of other guys. What if they see my pee-pee, right? You don't care anymore when you're old. Now, that's just a very visceral example, and I'll pull it back a little bit more, but think about it. When you're getting older, you don't really care. So you have permission to just kind of let go what people think of you. And then the idea here is this stress of keeping up. It's like this costume you have to wear, the weight of these expectations, keeping up with the Joneses. You now have the freedom to just do the things you want to do and become a character, right? So this is your permission to drop the performance and to live more authentically. Being yourself is enough, and that's what people want from you. People are smart, and they can understand when you're putting on a show. And I think more importantly, it's when you understand you're putting on a show. So this is about the freedom that you feel from what other people think. And this authenticity is going to breed more contentment with you. You can slow down. You can have more gross point happiness. And that contentment is really going to help lower the noise, the stress, and just do those things that you want to do. So building yourself an environment that supports greater autonomy and authenticity, this predicts a higher motivation and well-being inside of your life. Autonomy is huge. And this is what I do as a coach, helping men become more resourced, having that autonomy to move into any challenge they want in life, knowing that they have the tools, they have the brain power, they have the heart and the soul to do whatever it is they want to do. And whatever goal that they set for, they persist in accomplishing. So when you act like yourself, you feel and you do better. That's what it comes down to. Be you. Now, let's look at this through the SPIRE lens and the freedom spiritually. You start to ask yourself, what do you stand for? What's beyond the status? Do you stand for peace, calm, complete authenticity, humor? What is it that you stand for? Physically, how does your body feel when you stop performing, when you start doing the things that you want to do? Intellectually, aligning your goals with your values. Now that is going to lead to true and lasting happiness here too, because you know you're moving in the direction of your dreams when it fits your values. When you're living in accordance of your values, you're automatically moving towards your goal. Okay. Relationally, choosing rooms that fit the real you, right? Choosing your group of people. That's the biggest thing. Choosing your tribe. And emotionally, letting that relief guide you. The feelings of, oh man, I could just be me here. I could fart here in public and I don't even care. I think that's what it really comes down to. That spells relief for me. So a little exercise here at the bottom here. Write a 2-sentence code for yourself. What do you stand for? And what I won't do. You can read it before you have to make tough choices. That way you always know. There's a big power in writing something down. Even if it's your mission statement, that's a very powerful piece too. What do you stand for? And what is it that you won't do? No compromise. And number 5, surrendering to something greater. What does that mean here? It means that you can turn any sort of mess ups into medicine, understanding that you're going to make mistakes. You just got to let go. I'm going to make mistakes. That's why I have this podcast too. I'm sure there's going to be mistakes. I'll look back on, oh man, whatever, no one really watched it. I can get down on myself on that. I just got to surrender to the fact there might be 20 people that listen to this, but if it affects one, then I'm very grateful for that. But turn your mess ups into medicine. Teach with humor. There's a lightness to humor, right? And just let go, right? You'll be able to save energy. And remind yourself is that you're another day closer to death of this body. Okay, you got to surrender to that fact. And then knowing your mortality will sharpen the senses of love and really of gratitude and being completely present to that death is a part of your life. Okay, so this is trust in me here too, that this is something I think of often, and leave in the comments of how you're dealing with that. I'd love to know. And just know that winter is going to come, the winter of our lives. Remember, we're probably in fall, late fall. Maybe some of us are in summer. But just remember that you got to understand there's spring will come again, and we'll probably be in a different form by then. So surrendering to something greater, the ultimate good, is that God? Is that the absolute infinite intelligence? Whatever that is, you got to understand is that we were all formed from the big game. We were all made of star stuff, as to quote Carl Sagan. So the studies have shown that stronger life purpose is associated with a lower all-cause mortality. So being connected to your life's purpose, you're going to wake up with more meaning, more excitement, more joy. And this is what we're doing here. This is what I'm trying to achieve with this podcast, right? So having a reason to get you up, that gets you up in the morning, you will live longer. You're going to feel better. Now let's run this through the whole well-being scope. Spiritually, you're going to know that you're part of something larger. You're part of a team here, and that you contribute to the whole. Physically, you're going to treat your body with greater respect, because you realize that it is a borrowed instrument, an instrument to experience this life. Try that on. See how that feels in your body, right? When you try on that saying. Intellectually, you start to reframe these errors into teachable wisdom. Some of the best work that I've done is working with men talking about the different challenges in life, and when we really start to take apart these challenges that men have gone through, perhaps as a challenge with their kids or a challenge in how they feel about themselves after making a tough decision. When you really start to dissect it and you really look at that, the anxiety of perhaps I screwed up or effed up goes away, because we can get real specific on those learning moments. Those things are where we screwed up, but we have that awareness that we could have done something a little bit different. And if we didn't have that awareness, or if we didn't go through the messing up, we wouldn't have learned the greater lesson. So really that challenge becomes something we're super grateful for. And we grow from challenges. We grow from tough times. We grow from our dark matter. Relationally, bless one person daily. Serve quietly, even if it's smiling to somebody, saying, I appreciate you. Thank you for serving my coffee, right? Whatever that is, bless a person daily. Bless you, even if they sneeze. And then emotionally, just feeling that gratitude for yourself first, and understand that gratitude is so powerful. It is the most powerful psychological element. It's the most powerful element in psychological health that there is, according to Martin Seligman, which is the father of positive psychology. Gratitude is the most important. Heartfelt gratitude. Feel that emotionally, and more will flow your way. Be grateful for the things you have, and more will come. So nightly, do this. Say one thing that you're grateful for. One more person out there in the world to bless. One tiny act of service that you could do tomorrow. So, a little bit of a bonus here. Remember, at this stage, it is never too late to choose your fate. My wife, Adele, she was worried about aging. She was in her mid-40s, and she was speaking with a friend that kind of led her on to saying, hey, have you seen this latest Nike video? Or it has Sister Madonna in it. It's really interesting to me, because I think Adele at the time was speaking to her friend, just kind of down the dumps a bit. But she was told to watch this commercial where Sister Madonna was on this Nike commercial, and it was a triathlon commercial, and she was in her 80s doing triathlons and kicking ass. And Adele saw this and said, hey, if Sister Madonna could do this at 80 years old, I can definitely do this in my 40s. So she got herself a bike. She was already a member at the Y. She kept up with her swimming. She started running. She started training. And she ended up doing and completing 2 triathlons when she was in her mid-40s. And that's just a very small story of how at any moment when your life presents you with these opportunities to when I say, like, kind of open the gate, that where we feel like you ever feel like you're closed in and we just need someone to kind of open the gate to let us free range again. We gotta jump on those opportunities, and we have an opportunity at seemingly every moment. So the gate is open for you. Just put a date on it and move towards it. And remember, it's never too late. It's never too late for you. I mean, the science proves is that aging brains can still adapt. So you can work on targeted training that improves your abilities over your years. So find that 5K, if that's the thing. It may be a triathlon. Perhaps it's a Spartan run. Some form of competition if you like, right? Or learn something new. Learn to play the piano. This is something I still want to do, and I haven't quite got there yet, but this is something I still want to do. It's not too late for me to learn. Your brain can learn at any age. Okay. And understand that it's all about your mindset. If you have this can-do mindset, that has been proven to affect your biological age to where you feel younger and you biologically become younger, which is crazy, right? Mindset is everything. I'm sure you've tried on a pessimistic mindset versus a positive mindset. Which feels better? You're at the bar, you're hanging out with a bunch of people there drinking at the bar versus being at a Tony Robbins event. Boy, there's a difference right there too in mindsets. What's going to help you feel younger and more alive? Those are two very opposite ends of, extreme ends, but think about that. So if we run this never too late through the SPIRE framework, remember that the act itself is a devotion to you, to then your love of life, to God, to spirit, to your family. It's an act of devotion to yourself. Don't quit. Physically, train for the decade you're in too. Respect your recovery. That's when we get stronger, is when we recover. Okay, so understand that physically, that is important. Intellectually, learn to plan, log in your reps, and learn what you got to do in order to succeed. Relationally, invite a partner to run along with you in this journey. Hire a coach. Ding, ding, ding. Right? So these people will help feed you what you need to take you through those down times, to help usher you through. And then emotionally, celebrate the micro wins. Okay? So pick a bold but doable target. Maybe a 5K, maybe some kind of relay, perhaps a piano recital. I don't know. Put a date on it tonight. Pick what you want to do and go for it. Okay? And another thing you should be able to go for, hit the QR code here too to start the 5-day fill in the blank blueprint challenge. Why we're going to butcher that. So hit this QR code. You're going to get a free copy of my PDF, this is the image framework that sets you up a blueprint that covers everything that you want to look for. This is much more in depth than just understanding your goals. You're going to build a complete identity, which covers your different mindset, what you need to do physically as far as your metabolism, tools to become more aware of the moment and what your inner thoughts are growing for you and what you're manifesting in your life. You're going to take you through a goals section, and you're going to find ways and practices to embody these, to really bring these into your nervous system and to make everything a reality. And I'm going to guide you through it with a series of emails for 5 days on how to fill this out. You're going to fill out that blueprint and put it on the fridge or wherever that you find yourself frequenting. And this is going to keep you on track towards your goals, and you can become the person you want to become. Free from me to you. And I just want to say here that in closing, that remember that midlife is fall, okay? And that the leaves drop. Again, light is going to shorten, and then but we do harvest, and we run into this storm. We got to run into it like a buffalo. Okay, we declutter the crap. We reinvent ourselves. We stop living for other people, and we surrender to something greater. So remember that it's not too late to choose your fate, and remember it's time to open up that gate. Make your mark out there in the world. Okay, I'm rooting for you. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you on the next one.